Hello, it's Peter Mead, and welcome to the SEO Surgery APAC for the Australia, Asia, and Pacific SEO community and search marketers at large. So this month we have a terrific lineup, and it's so great to see lots of people joining onto the webinar. So I'll just take a few minutes to introduce our guests. So excited this time because, as I was saying earlier, the last time all of us, all the panelists and all of us were together was actually when we were in St. Petersburg together. And yeah, so that was a fantastic time. So it's terrific for us all to be together on the same webinar again. But certainly some of the best SEOs and technical people you'll find. So first of all, I introduced Jim Stewart. So Jim Stewart is a top Aussie SEO, digital marketing specialist, marketing speaker, and he's also the CEO at Stewart Media. Jim, how are you? What's hot in SEO for you right now? What's going on?
Peter. Thanks for asking me on. What's hot in SEO for me right now? I'm at the point where you don't tell Google to get stuffed, as you know, and focus on our customers and their customers. Because for me, everything that we tend to do for SEO from a technical standpoint is pretty much user experience. So by focusing more on the customer and the revenue, that's probably the biggest thing for us in SEO.
Okay. Yes, I hear what you're saying. Thanks, Jim. So I'll introduce our next guest, Arnout Hellmans. Arnout is a brilliant senior online strategist from Amsterdam, Netherlands, specializes in SEO, SEM, AdWords optimization, Google Analytics and Crow, and a whole lot more, as well as gets around the place speaking. How are you, Arnout? And what's hot for you in SEO right now?
Well, thank you. I'm good. I'm a tad bit early over here, but but for the rest, it's good. Well, for me at the moment, I would say what Jim is saying. So focusing on revenue and stuff like that more than the general just ranking. I think that's been going on for a while. But still hot. But what really triggers my interest is the way Google is moving forward in answering questions. So how to play that game and understand what they're doing in that end with structured data and Wikipedia and that kind of stuff. That's something I'm focusing on a lot lately.
Terrific. Thanks, Arnout. So our next guest, it's such a pleasure to have Dawn Anderson. Dawn's a very advanced technical SEO from UK. She's managing director of Move It IT digital marketing agency, international SEO consultant, trainer, lecturer, and speaker. And Dawn, it's such a pleasure to have you. Welcome. And what's going on with SEO for you? What's hot now?
Well, firstly, thanks for asking me to come on this site clinic in the middle of the night here. No, it's just really early. As Arnout said, it's quite early here.
Appreciate you getting up early.
no problem. Yeah, so for me, disambiguation, trying to help search engines to totally disambiguate our content, developing content and SEO strategies for, if you like, task-driven search. Search engines, well, a few weeks ago, Google produced a piece of PR, if you like, or press release that said, search for the next 20 years. It's based around understanding the tasks that users are trying to do. So it's basically about, for me, trying to implement that into our strategies and understanding how we can fit in with contextual search. Obviously, we know that people are on mobile, they're in different contexts. Search engines are trying to understand which queries fit with the those different informational needs. And he's trying to get our heads around that and implement those kind of things into strategies. So that's the next step for me.
Okay. Wow, very fascinating. Thanks so much. So let's move straight on to our audit. We'll keep moving. We've got a lot to get through, and each site will spend 10 minutes doing it. So the first site, Arnout, has been doing an audit for environmentaljobs.com.au. So what have you found, Arnout? We got some things to report, and yeah, how'd you go?
It was all good. Yeah, I'll just share my presentation. I think that's the smartest thing to do. But in general, it was when I first opened it, it was just yeah, wow. I personally always look at how do you call it? The let me just open this. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So when I first opened it, I do some basic checks. So I check for speed and I check for like those kind of things. And that was all very well. So that was really good. And so when I checked that, I was like, okay, so somebody who worked on this site has the priority, at least in my book, pretty straight. So then you start doing the next bit of research. So first, I usually go to Semrush and look at like what's the competitive space, like what's it about in Australia. So I'm using the organic research, and there you can actually see that you basically see that they could actually rank for more keywords. They're actually ranking okay-ish, pretty good to be honest, but they could rank in a broader sense terms. So that's basically the first thing I do, because that gives you, if you like, I've never worked in the environmental job space in Australia, so I need to get to grasp like what are others doing, like what do you need to do. So I gathered that data by looking at these data, so in Semrush, but also just clicking around the site and clicking around at some competitor sites. So that's the first thing I did. And you have to be, so I also looked at like, how is it performing in desktop? And the next slide, how is it performing in on mobile? So I think one of the reasons it's doing better in mobile has probably to do with the fact that they have a really big focus on speed and optimizing that using CDNs and all kinds of things. So that's basically my starting point. And then I basically dug in and I started crawling it. And then you see some interesting things like this one. They're actually have an HTML sitemap, but they are linking to pages with follow links that are blocked in the robots.txt. And as such, like, why should you then link to them if they're blocked in the robots.txt? Because you actually don't want the bots to go there. So, so I would say fix this. It's relatively easy to fix, and it will help you rank the pages you want to rank. I'm not entirely sure whether I wouldn't want to rank certain of these pages, but that's another discussion. So, and the other thing I when crawling found that they're actually using a different domain, a subdomain on ontraboard.net. So, but they're actually linking to it, like from within the footer, I think. If you're going to do this, then if it's really needed, then I would recommend setting up a reverse proxy so you can run it in a folder on your own website and not link out to another website that might now actually start ranking on some of your key things, like advertise a course, advertise a job, advertise an event, which is the main purpose of this website, into making money. So that I would go for a reverse proxy or a different solution, at least give it on your own domain. So the other one I saw was that there's a lot of internal links. So probably what has happened is somebody went in and thought, you know what, these URLs, I want to change them. But they didn't change the navigation structure and all the links that would point to those internal pages. Because you can actually see that grad programs, it used to be /jobs/grad programs, and now it's like /resources/graduates. That's fine if you do it, but then update all your internal links and still keep the 301 redirect, but just don't point to a point where it needs to redirect. Why not? Because basically you're sending the Googlebot from one place straight to another page, which is not very smart. It's like telling somebody to go shop over there, and then the shop says, I've moved there. If that person knew the shop has moved, it would send it straight to the right location and not send it to another one as well. It just takes time for a Googlebot, and you're just frustrating users, you're frustrating Googlebot. It's just, well, not very smart. And the other one is you do 301 redirects to non-SSL pages, so non-HTTPS pages, which then are being sent with the 307, I believe it was, to a HTTPS page. So that's also something I would fix. I also looked at structured data because, as I mentioned in the intro, I think that's something that triggers my imagination, and there's loads of things you can do with it. So I did it on the job posting. I tested it, and it was perfectly made up. So kudos to that, to the one doing this. It's awesome that you did it. Then the other thing is, I used the site audit tool in Semrush to also crawl it, because in loads of cases, I don't just trust one crawler. I use multiple crawlers to come up with loads of issues, so I can basically weigh them and say, this is the number 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I would fix. So what you see here is basically the folder structure. So we've got environmentaljobs.com.au as the root, but we also got the www version of that. And I think this is one of the main issues, that every page can be accessed through both the www and the actual root. So I'll get back to that in a bit. Then the other thing is, you've got search results without pagination. So they're being canonicalized. That means like page 2 of the results canonicalized to page 1. But that way, you're not sending the Googlebot to all the different jobs. Say you've got 5 pages of jobs, but you'll basically tell Google, but it's all the same. Well, it isn't, because they are the same templates, but there's different jobs on. So don't do it with the canonical. Use pagination. So rel next, rel prev. So in order for Google to actually be able to index all the jobs and read all the structured data that's on there and rank all the jobs instead of just the ones that are on the first page. So this was the example. So a way to check this is you're using a search modifier. In this case, I used site semicolon, and then do the www version and the non-www. And what you see there is that I got 21 results on the www, and I got 646 on the actual route. So just make sure they redirect and are only reachable through one version. Oh, and I also used some tools to figure out, like, does the site have broken links? I found loads of broken links, so external websites still linking to past jobs, but also I saw loads of resources and old PDFs being mentioned on different websites, and they are currently, they just basically end up on a very nice but still 404 page. So just getting these resources, especially these resources, they say something about who you are and that you're a trusted company, because if people reference your how-to and like in this case, environmental jobs poster, a comprehensive view from Australia, that says something about you as a business. So I would definitely get those back up there, or at least have the resources in the page so you can redirect. And the last one was a simple one again, looking at big pictures. So the biggest one I found was 1.7 megs. I reckon that it's not big. The biggest I ever found was like 60 megs, well, on a page. But but fixing these will also help your speed, and I know that the one working on this website has a big focus on speed. And I guess that was about it. I could go on a little bit more, but let's see. Gonna get back in here, and I'm gonna close my screen share. Is it closed now, guys? Oh, now it's on again.
You're back on screen now, Arnout. And
yeah,
we did actually have a question from the person whose site it is, and they were actually asking about the structured data. The question was, should they really be bothered with structured data, and is it suitable in Australia, or is it not worth? Is Google really going to worry about the structured data so much?
Okay. So here's my point. I think Google also said this in terms of Gary Isles, that structured data is an immaterial thing. So it's going to go away, but it's helping Google understand what your page is actually doing without them having to interpret what's on that page. So you're basically helping them understand, or basically you're helping their machine learning and AI kind of algorithms to understand what a page is about. So definitely keep it up there if you're unique in what you do. So if this job is all over the place, you could consider not doing it, but in their case, definitely keep it up there.
It doesn't hurt, and it doesn't take that much effort to get it done properly.
Well, if you set them up properly, you just do it on a template level, and you just map the fields. So it's not a big deal in terms of time spent.
Yep, I'm all for structured data. So thanks so much, Arnout. And we might just get some comments from our other expert panelists here. And perhaps, Jim, we'll go over to you. Jim, did you have some extra comments to add on about the environmental jobs website?
No, I didn't get to have a look at that one. Yeah, basically everything Arnout said was spot on, and it looks like we've got some common themes tonight, especially with the site that I looked at. We've got similar issues where you see up front, if someone's looking at it from the outside, even the owner, they might go, geez, well, it seems to perform pretty well, looks pretty good. And then when you start to dig deeper, you find heaps and heaps of things that are not only bad for Google, but bad for the user as well.
Thanks, Jim. Dawn, did you have any comments at all you wanted to add on?
Okay, so one thing that does seem to work well in this environment is the problem with appearing and disappearing content. I know we've all had this discussion, it's on a slightly different theme, is that once a job is gone, you don't actually have anything to rank for a job name, and people do search for whatever name of job, type job, if that makes sense. So people are going to search for hold on. So people are going to search for senior ecologist job, yeah. The problem is, on this side, they don't appear to have any actual static pages to meet those queries, unless I'm wrong. I'd be at least adding something there to meet the job types, and then hanging the disappearing jobs off that page. So almost the category of jobs is the actual job types, and have a sitemap that links to each, so that you have that permanent ranking page with almost like the items of the jobs, and then just come and go, because they are just individual elements that will just disappear, return, disappear. So that's something that I see works really well on job sites.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dawn. That's, terrific feedback. So, well, thanks again, Arnout, for that. And we've had some great feedback from the website owner during that session. So let's move straight on to the next one. The next website to be audited, Jim Stewart, he's going to audit bestvpn.com. So, Jim, how did you go? Did you find lots of things we can help with?
Oh, we got plenty to talk about. I didn't get a chance to. I could have gone on for hours, but I didn't. But yeah, as I say, a lot of similar things that Arnout had seen in environmental jobs. But I might just share the screen straight away, and we will get into it. And that's the one I want. So first of all, well done on speed. It was great. I looked at that and went, wow, looks really good. Accessibility's high too. And remember, accessibility is important at the moment, especially when there is websites in the US that are getting sued for not being accessible. That all looked really, really good. I did find a few things you could get out of the code if you're not using them, because they will add load time, things like Crazy Egg, Hotjar. You've got both of them running. Maybe we tend to run it for only about 1,000 sessions, or what's a good sample size for the audience that we're looking at, but don't have them running all the time. The site search, I want you to remember this number. So site:bestvpn.com, pretty good. 1780 results. They all look pretty clean, except we do have a little bit of pagination issues. And when we go minus in URL and we say, let's go www. So we just go minus in URL and we'll say wwws, and we'll get that result. But thank you, Google. And Arnout was looking at earlier, the same thing in that we've got a few extra subdomains that, come on, Google, hurry up. A few extra subdomains that shouldn't be there. So at some point we've had the staging site in there. It redirects, I think it redirects now, or you may have fixed it, but you can go in, set it up in Google Search Console, just remove it from the index. Don't make it a random thing. And then also you've got this other subdomain, blocked by robots.txt. If the whole thing's blocked by robots.txt, then you're pretty well right. But I just would worry what the result of that was down the track. So it's RC, it's not coming up now in this search, rc.bestvpn. All right, so we're going to have a look at the site itself. Yeah, look, I really like the layout, thought the layout was great. Just little things, if you are going to go to the effort of using heading tags in the way that they're intended, probably not necessary to use one over here for styling on your table of contents. But other than that, I thought it was fantastic. I had a look at some bloated code. There were a few things there that we could get rid of that they're not using. That was things like, so all these red marks here, these all represent code that's not being used. So you might want to just do a code check, see if you can make it a bit faster. But the real problem seemed to come about from just some simple stuff. So we've got no href lang on the site, yet the site is in multiple languages. So if we're going to have a look at, say, the Spanish page, just quickly, yeah, you will see that that's the privacy page. Well, we've got this one here. This one's in Spanish. This is good. So your privacy page is in English, and you're not, your privacy page for Spanish readers is in English, and you are not using hreflang on the pages I looked at anyway, certainly. It's not been set up properly. What else did we have? We had some weird indexing. If you go and do that site colon search and go right to the very last result, you will see something that seems a bit odd and shouldn't be there, and it's redirecting. You might want to check that out. It could be a symptom of something else. It's actually redirects to another website altogether. We'll see if it's still there. I think it was a 302, which is kind of odd as well. Yeah, this one here, and you can see here clearly it's got your domain name in there, and it certainly says that in the information bar as well. But when we click on it, we get redirected to another site altogether. So you really don't want that part of your index in there. One of the major things I saw is the same with what Arnout saw as well, which was there were over 700 301s, right? So keep that number in mind. So we said 700 301s, and we look here and we can see, well, there's 1,300 results now. There was 1,780 before, but it'll swap around. But let's just be generous and say you got 1,500 pages indexed by Google. Well, 700 URLs in your site are 301s, so you keep that in mind, because when we go and have a look at Screaming Frog, we can see that, let me bring that one, it's going to give everyone a headache, everyone looking at everyone in a loop. when I go and have a look at Screaming Frog, I've got 1,627 crawlable URLs and 33 are no indexed, but I've got over 1,700 in the index, and I got 700 of that 1,600 are redirected, right? So you've got, what's that, less than 500 pages really crawlable, and your site maps that I downloaded anyway have only got 28 URLs in them. So you have a lot to fix. So in order of priorities, like you've got your speed great, which is fantastic, and you have got a lot of the layout and the content. I think there seems to be a thing about reading too many things about SEO with some of these sites that we look at, where there's been a huge focus on one aspect, and in yours I saw that, really, really long articles. I would only ever do a really, really long article if you thought that was important to the user. Same with the 301s, you're slowing the user down, right? Every 200 milliseconds maybe for a DNS lookup or something, depending on if they're using a Cloudflare DNS or whoever's serving their DNS. But there's a lot there that can be fixed, and I think you'll see some great improvements. One of the main problems that you do have, sorry, I just had to quickly show you this, that is the brand. That is the exact match domain, right? Because Google doesn't see you as a brand. When I put best VPN as 2 words up again, ExpressVPN, we can see there we've got this graph. When I go and use the Semrush tool and have a look at Semrush, this is the non-branded traffic, and you can see here in amongst our non-branded traffic, or what Semrush is saying is non-branded, we've got things like best VPN for Netflix. So Google and the Semrush tools as well are seeing best VPN as something that the user is looking for. They're not looking for an affiliate site necessarily, which is what yours is. And I know that you explain that clearly, but that may limit your ability to rank for, say, just the generic best VPN. I can see you're ranking already well for some other things. And if you fix up the index and the crawl, then I think you will see further improvement as well.
Thanks, Jim. Actually, I did hear something from the owner of the site, and they were interested, especially that graph you showed there, where on Semrush, where perhaps their keywords were going up, and there was a big spike, and then they dropped right down. And there was some questions there about perhaps, I'm not sure, have they gone too broad with their content or something? Is there something going on there? You got any clues on that one?
Yeah, no, I needed more information. I was just going to zero down into that time frame, but I didn't get a chance. I'd love to see Google Search Console graph around that, and maybe look for any channel traffic spikes in analytics. But it's a bit hard to tell with just that information unless you have the other data.
Yeah, and it's always hard, isn't it, with SEO? I mean, the best approach is to do all your best practices and fix all the things, and then you.
I mean, look at
otherwise
it might have been. Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you don't fix all these fundamental things, you don't know where you are. You don't know. It's like when you go on a journey, right? You need to know where you are in the map before you start your journey, right? So it's the same with SEO. You've got to know where you are before you go and do anything. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there?
Yeah, thanks for that. I wonder, do our other panelists have any comments to add about this site, bestvpn.com? Did you have anything you wanted to add in, Dawn, on this one?
I would love to be able to add something in, but as soon as I tried to navigate to it, my Sky Shield at my internet here blocked me, so I couldn't even go and look at it. So,
right, yeah.
I don't know.
What's Sky Shield?
It's Sky, the Sky internet. I have Sky, so you have a setting that stopped me from. It might be because it was Best VPN or something. So.
I'm
Could
sure.
Be a VPN. Yeah.
Change your DNS to Cloudflare.
Yeah. So no, it's a good point actually that it might be getting considered as an actual VPN, which is interesting, isn't it? Right. Yeah. What about Arnout? Do you have any comments or anything you want to add on at all?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised finding guides on how to mine Ethereum on a website that is about basically it feels like a more comparison engine on VPNs. So I'm going like, aren't you going too much off topic just for the sake of the content? Just as Jim basically said, it's basically about is that adding value to the user? Like, is that does that, like, why would Google rank you on that if you actually want to rank on something else? So the example would be like, if you have a VPN comparison service, what people are looking for is to watch Netflix in their home country. So if you can write an extensive guide on how to do that, you're actually staying within topic and actually helping the user. So I think that would be a great tip. And I think I'm assuming the reason would be like, hey, what's hot? What's things people are looking for now? Let's create some content around it. Well, you've actually moved away from what you're trying to achieve.
In fairness, for the author of that, I did think that as well. But in fairness, I think he was doing it for VPNs for mining or something, and that's why he had the article on it. That's where it was going. But a lot of that content. But I agree totally. So I kept scrolling that article and kept scrolling down. So where does this end? And a lot of it's been scraped as well. Fortunately, he's ranking for it, but there's a lot of other sites out there that just scraped it all.
Yeah. So I guess partly, I mean, it's only an assumption, but part of this would be if there was a big spike, or if he started gaining traction in Google and getting more traffic, more keywords, and then all of a sudden there's a drop, then I would be looking at relevancy, and I'd just be looking at the whole EAT thing.
Yeah, and
especially with the recent updates from Google.
It may have very well been. That's what I thought too, Pat. I thought, maybe this is some fad, or it's like when we got a spike from Turkey about Google Trends predicting presidential elections, because there was a presidential election over there. So sometimes it can be something like that. And you might be right. It might be crypto related.
Okay, thanks so much, Jim. So let's move straight on to our next audit. And Dawn Anderson is going to be doing a review on greenpeace.org.au. So, Dawn, what did you find? How did you go with this site?
I'm just going to share my screen, and I have a load of tabs open on the top here, so I'm just going to move along a few of them. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see my screen. Can you see your face, Peter?
I can see myself.
Okay, right. So I looked at Greenpeace,
yes,
as you just mentioned. Obviously, the same as Arnout and Jim, first port of call is usually speed, because, you know, who likes a slow loading website? And I found actually, unfortunately, that Greenpeace had quite a lot of issues with speed. So let me just go to, okay, so I ran a few different tests. So I looked at, for instance, GC metrics. Google tells us, all performance engineers tell us to take a metric from a number of tools, because obviously no one speed score is necessarily that accurate. So we look at a few. So we looked at GT metrics, and I looked at, I did look at page speed insights. Where is it? Hold on a second. I'll just run that again. So I did have it. Just run that. Okay. So what a lot of the problems are actually are caching, compression, and images. Some of the images are absolutely huge on the website. Have a quick look. So pretty much every image on this whole website needs to be compressed. So there are some pretty straightforward and simple, I can see it's on WordPress, some pretty simple compression and smushing plugins that you can add, such as Smush It, which you just install, and as images are uploaded, or you'll have to run it obviously through all the images that are on there, it will just compress everything. The other option is to serve it from something like Imager, which is an image hosting CDN that has automatic compression anyway. So images are a huge problem. Also, just pressing the compression and optimization button on an Apache server, or whichever server they have, if the facility is available. Maybe that it's not available on Nginx, for instance. But certainly pressing optimize CSS, JavaScript, and HTML on the server will make things much smaller. But generally, you should get your editors into the habit of compressing, minimizing, and making things smaller generally, and adding some caching as well. There wasn't any caching going on particularly, so basically saying, look, you know, if somebody doesn't come back to, you know, the images don't change very often, so adding something like a 6-month or a 12-month caching period to images really helpful. The browser doesn't have to keep kind of coming, fetching and reloading things. So you see a lot of these are just on at like 1 day at the minute. They can be extended to certainly, you know, a longer period, because images literally don't change very often. So what else was there? So a lot of these are like third-party redirect chains that are being called in. So look to like minimize some of these third-party scripts for a start, and if possible, include the ultimate destination for the redirect chains when you call these. So sometimes what happens as well is, I'll just give an example. If we don't update our analytics tag for years, I'm not saying this is the case here, just giving an example. What happens sometimes is the third-party analytics provider updates their code we don't update ours, so effectively we end up with these redirect chains over a period of time. So look to minimize some of these third-party redirect chains. Might have been there for quite a while. As I say, enabling compression generally. Obviously, some of this is beyond your sites. You can't necessarily influence that. But just generally, it's just good practice to have things that are made smaller. And also look at next generation images for a start. So, for instance, WebP, JPEG 2000, WordPress. You need to add as a plugin to serve WebP images. As well, some of the CSS inlining small elements. What I often find is that look at the score on PageSpeed Insights. It's really not that great. Well, it's really bad. Yeah. So, so you need to just work your way through some of these because these are like really poor scores. So look, the huge image, the big oil spill image needs to be made much smaller, compressed, served differently. Yeah, next generation WebP, JPEG 2000. Look to make some of these images are probably going to be the biggest win that you'll have on this. And I'll tell you what else some people do as well. So if they're using the Bootstrap or one of the Bootstrap frameworks, they often include a lot of the font awesome and the different types of fonts that are available now. But instead of just picking out and inlining a few of the fonts that they want to include in their code, they literally load the entire library of font awesome or glyphicons, that kind of thing, when they don't need it. So you just be careful about adding lots of assets that you don't actually need. I would do some minification as well of CSS, JavaScript. Lots of minifying is possible. Another area is obviously I don't want to spend too much time on the performance aspect, but you have a lot of subdomains going on. So you have Spark, which is obviously some engagement platform, lots and lots of really good rich content. You have your main domain, you have give.greenpeace.org, you have what else was there? You have ACT, another one. There was just quite a lot of, here we are, there's a list of some of the subdomain actions, ACT, give, Spark, and the main domain. What I would be doing is connecting these all up to the main domain. I'm not saying add these as subdomains at all, because obviously they're all very focused, and I am a big fan of topical focus and subdomains. But I would certainly be looking to pass a lot of equity from these into the main domain. For instance, here I would be having at least the root site somewhere linked site-wide from all of these subdomains. That is not going on at all. So I would be utilizing a lot of the equity. You'll find that engagement sites, for instance, like spark.greenpeace.org.au, this will have a lot of buzz and bubble going on. For instance, this site banned this page, banned the bag, huge campaign, got absolutely thousands of signatures and comments, and that's one other thing as well. All these comments, unfortunately, being crawled, and I found that in SEMrush here, these all crawlable. You don't want to end up with these being crawled because they're seen as individual new pages. Then when you go to them, for instance, let me find it, they literally are this. Yeah, so they're crawlable. So you want to have these that they are blocked, not crawlable by any crawler whatsoever, including Googlebot. If you can do this at a template level, if necessarily do it at robots.txt. I'm not a huge fan of blocking anything at robots.txt. Maybe do it at HT access and xrobots level, but you don't want to be wasting crawl equity on lots and lots of thousands of where were they again? Of these, yeah. But you get the point. This page is massively engaging. You want to pass equity across to greenpeace.org root domain as well. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so there was that. There's loads of other stuff as well. I'm going to have to be as really quick as I can. So what you're trying to do as well, for instance, is you end up with these duplicate title tags and duplicate content as well. One will be picked, one will not be picked in search. You're halving everything. And I can see what's happened. You see in the second URLs, somebody's thought, oh, we want to have it so that all the words of this sentence are in here to match queries. So we want it to add to TO there. Those are stock words. They'll not be included in anything for search because they literally are just stripped out anyway. So I would literally, you'd be utilizing this URL that has the stock words removed. Search engines and humans are intelligent enough to pick up on the fact that that would have the word to in it. So I wouldn't be wasting anything on there. What else? Yeah. Oh yeah, lots of pages with more than one H1 going on. I'd be looking at this. Just quickly check it. It's probably, if I'm not mistaken, our mission, our core values. So it's being used to, somebody's using H1s for styling, because obviously they both have the same size. H1s are for accessibility. Search engines use the H1 to H6 to understand sections. Wikipedia does an amazing job of this. They add structure, they turn unstructured web pages into semi-structured pages. So I would be having these as like, you know, the first one would be about Greenpeace for me. Our mission would be H2, our core values for H2, independence H3, independence bearing witness H3, non-violent direct action H3, etc. So look at those, go through them, don't use H1s for styling, that's not what they're for. That's that one, getting rid of these. And we're running out of time here, Peter. Yeah.
We are running short of time. Have you got, do you want to just wrap up quickly, Dawn, on something there?
Okay. So the main thing for me would be sort your speed issues out quickly. It's the quickest way. Make those images smaller, compress them, add some minification, speed, and get those subdomains all hooked up to the main domain. And that's my two main low-hanging fruit points. Yeah. So.
Okay. Thanks, Dawn. So definitely some great insights there. And I'm just pretty interested in, particularly like you're saying about the low-hanging fruit. And I just took particular notice when you showed the GT metrics. The homepage was sort of over 5 megabytes in size. It's quite a large page. So yeah, we did have a question from the one of our viewers here, and the question was, how should you deal with making the images as small as possible, but also needing to double the pixels for Mac Retina screens to display them sharply? It's a question I've got here.
Okay. So I'm trying to think on this.
I just posted that link for source set, which is one way, but there's a whole bunch of ways.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well, it depends on what the image is for. I would be looking at things like, I mean, obviously, accessibility is one point here, but the other point is, if you have very small images, I would be doing things like using sprites to keep things small and just load elements. If something is a massive image, I don't think it's going to be good for anybody, regardless of whether somebody's on a Mac Retina screen. It's going to take forever to load. So yeah, I think the difference is we obviously realize that you have to apply accessibility in all instances. So contrasting colors is a big deal. So it goes beyond the size of the image. It actually needs to look at the image itself, contrasting colors, contrasting all sorts of things. So yeah, depends. It depends. The famous SEO answer. It depends.
Depends. Yeah, we've heard that lots of times. Depends.
Yeah.
But I certainly think I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, absolutely, you want your site to be running fast. Mobile is so important. Yes, we want pictures to look lovely on Retina displays. However, we can do that specifically when we want to. But in the meantime, let's make sure our site is running fast, that it renders well on mobile. We can get indexed and we can get results. That's the main thing, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you have anything else you wanted to contribute there, Jim? Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, yeah, I mean, awesome extensive review from Dawn. The only other thing I found was that she covered a lot, but there's a few soft 404s going on which are getting indexed. And they're in the parameters at the end of the blog. So basically, there's a lot of blog pagination going on that is indexed, and then there's right at the end, then there's parameters, and one of them is P. So question mark P equals, and you can put anything in after that, and you'll generate a page that is getting indexed. So that's going to be a problem. If it's not already, it may become a bigger one.
Arnout, did you have anything you picked up on, or anything you found with this site you wanted to say?
Well, I guess, as I said in the beginning, I think you should have a big focus on speed, because otherwise people don't end up in your website. And there's loads of solutions, and I'm happy to share some of my favorite tools to use it. Look at multiple tools and just discuss with your devs what should be a relatively easy fix, because there's loads of relatively easy fixes. So I think that's one of the main things. The other one is, if you're going to do work with subdomains, I'd rather not. So I usually bring everything back to using a reverse proxy to the folder level. And that will definitely help them rank as well. So those were my main 2 points.
Yeah, interesting
well
what you're saying. Yeah, Thanks, Anna. Interesting what you're saying there about the subdomains. It's a bit of an age-old question, isn't it, in the SEO world? I just wondered, Dawn, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the use of those subdomains, and are they really helping, or is there another way of doing that?
Yeah, I'm a fan, as I say, of topical focus in subdomains, particularly as nowadays everybody wants to be a publisher on lots of different topics. If you're going to talk about lots of different things, you need to keep it in a separate container. Yeah. Otherwise, you just end up with a jumble sale. But you want the equity that comes from, obviously, the people that are engaged with the different subdomains. So that Spark one is obviously where the conversation happens. That's where you're going to get the links and shares. Yeah. That, for me, needs to be passing a lot back to the whole commercial. I mean, I know Greenpeace is a charity, but it still has commercial objectives. So the equity counts. So you need things to be coming back in to the root, if you like. All of those are different. They're all split up. I mean, how many people are going to share things like the give and the act? These are emotionally led pages, yeah. People are going to share them like crazy and comment like crazy because they're passionate about the subjects. So, you don't even need to go out and look for links if you just utilize the subdomain power that's already going to be growing naturally there. That's my point, anyway.
Okay. Yes, very interesting. So, what would I mean? Should there be some more navigation put in place? Is there something else they can do to enable that, Dawn?
Yeah, just more navigation, because the chances are people who are interested in the conversation at Greenpeace are actually also interested in looking at Greenpeace. They need more navigation generally that's right on this site. what I did spot is that on the main site itself, towards the bottom, there's a heck of a lot of our style. There's a lot of waste. That navigation, if you take a one out, one in approach to internal linking on these navigational areas, so you don't want to end up with too many. So if you add a load more, you're just diluting things further. Think about what you can reduce on that footer on the main Greenpeace site, because you've got a page that links site-wide to our style, about the tone of voice that they want people to take. And then within that section, we've got like 10 different other pages that say, these are the colours we want you to use, this is the font we want you to use. Put that all in one page and just have that in the About Us section, yeah, or in the, you know, Publishers section or something like that. Why waste a site-wide link to something that's just about writing styles? Yeah, it's just waste. So, you know, it needs to be a bit more organised. Think about the primary tasks of the users and, you know, tie up the buzz section with the actual main commercial objectives. That's my 2 pence, as they say.
Damn, I could discuss that one for hours. I'm sure we all could.
We could.
Really interesting point.
It's an interesting site. It's an interesting site.
It is. No, it's a good point. It's a good point. You make some good points. But
Yeah.
So look, I really appreciate your time, Dawn, for doing that review, and I'm sure that the Greenpeace really appreciates it as well. Same, Jim, so appreciative of your time for doing that review, and Arnout, you know, we certainly have had some really good SEO insights, always learning, always picking up information. You know, whenever we do these webinars, we just keep learning from each other, and this is what the SEO community is all about. We just keep picking up and sharing ideas and seeing things from another perspective. So what I'll just do now is just go around each of you and just ask for a quick 1-minute takeaway. What if there's one thing that any of our viewers could do in their SEO practices? You know, what would it be, Jim? I'll start with you. 1 minute.
1 minute. Well, if you're not on a CDN and you haven't fixed up your speed and you haven't got over 70 in web.dev measure, then you've got some work to do. So get onto that. But the other major thing that I think is happening tonight is that some sites aren't setting up sitemaps. So big no. I mean, I know I said get stuff Google, but not to that extent. Set up some sitemaps.
Right. Arnout, what's your 1 minute takeaway? Yeah. You there, Arnout?
He's
to me.
Yeah. Oh, we've
he's gone.
perhaps we'll go to you, Dawn. What's your you got a 1 minute takeaway for us that we could the viewers?
We need to try and walk in the shoes of the consumer. Ask people outside the SEO community what they think of a site. We'll often get quite shocked. So think about a user first and then speed it up, because there's no point ranking if nobody stays. So help the user first, meet their needs, find out the information they want, and then make it fast. That's my takeaway.
I actually looked up UXO, Dawn.
Yeah.
I think everything you're saying is right. It's the user experience optimization, right? Which is actually an acronym for unexploded bomb ordnance.
What's your 1 minute takeaway, Arnout?
So, could you repeat the question?
Oh, we're just we're just asking if you can give one takeaway to our audience, just one simple thing in a 1 minute time snap. You know, what was your little takeaway for them?
No, I lost that question. But I reckon you're gonna ask me for the biggest takeaways for the listeners.
Yes.
The biggest takeaways, in my opinion, are as Jim said in the beginning, it's about satisfying the user. So work on speed, fix your internal redirects, your internal 404s, and basically just add value to that. Apart from that, also make sure that Google understands your page. So to give them a better way to serve the right content. And like that is the biggest takeaway, in my opinion, in current day writing. I've moved away from a lot of the rank stuff. I just wanna fix stuff and make sure that the user trusts me and does what I want him to do, whether that's buying or whether that's sharing or donation or whatever. So I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Great.
That's it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, as usual. I'll just do a quick plug for our next webinar, which is on December 19th. We have a great lineup. We've got Kate Toon's going to come on, Harry Saunders, who actually, Harry Sanders, he won the Young Search Professional Award at the Opera House. So also we've got Adwords. So it's going to be terrific. We hope to see you all next month. Other than that, I just want to say again, from the bottom of my heart, it's been terrific having all of our expert panelists, and we've learnt so much, and I'm sure that I look forward to catching up with you all again in the future soon. So Jim Stewart, thank you. Arnout Hellmans, thank you so much. And Dawn Anderson, thanks so much. And enjoy the rest of your day and your evening, wherever you are around the world. And thanks everybody for tuning in Australia and the whole APAC region and the SEO community. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thanks,